Our next video is from an artist that I find quite dreamy. He's tall, dark, handsome, single, and rather crunchy.
If you love your veggies and want more to know, then I've got for you a spectacular show. We be giving the facts of this lyrical rhyme and bringing in guests quite a lot of the time. If you search for your hairbread like cheeseburgers too, then I'm happy to say we got a show for you.
Welcome back to the podcast. We're here today with my co-host, Joe Davis, and word recording artist, Cindy Morgan. How are you doing, Cindy?
Doing great. How are y'all doing?
I'm doing good. Fantastic to have you on here. We tried for a long time to set this up, and I'm really glad it worked out.
Yeah, too.
I apologize in advance. I'm a little under the weather.
Oh, same. We've got the cold viruses going around in Nashville so bad. So, yep, I'm in the same boat.
I don't know what it is. I tried to avoid getting it because my family got it. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep my distance and try to, but it didn't work. I ended up with it.
I feel like I'm next on the chopping block.
It's
I'm probably gonna get sick.
Yeah, it's one of those bouncy viruses. They don't. Yeah, it just kind of bounces in the air.
Unfortunately, yeah, they travel. But regardless, we're gonna have a fantastic podcast today, and I'm glad we finally got it scheduled out. I guess we can go ahead and jump right in. When did you start your music career? I know your first album released in 1992, but were you doing, performances before the first album? Were you writing songs before the first album? When did that officially kick off?
Okay, yeah. I mean, for me, because I grew up, my parents were both songwriters, both musicians, and, they're small town in eastern Tennessee. And so I definitely grew up with music as a huge part of my family's life. And so I started writing songs when I was about 6 years old. The first song I wrote was called "The Sun Is Hot." I mean, I don't mean to brag, but it's pretty deep. But no, I just grew up writing and playing piano, and I knew that was probably what I was hopefully destined to do. You never know how those things will work out. So, but I have always written and played, and then kind of fresh out of high school, I got a job. I won Dolly Parton's National Mountain Music Festival. The first year, wow. Dollywood was Dollywood because it used to be the national the Silver Dollar Jamboree Park or something like that.
Oh,
but yep. But she turned it into Dollywood, and the first year that it was Dollywood, she hosted a big talent show that a friend of mine had entered me in. I didn't enter it because I hated talent contests. Because if you grew up in East Tennessee and you were like in a talent show, it was inevitable that cloggers that were, do you know what a clogger is? It's like a mountain dancer. Like
basically the tap dancers.
Yeah, it's like the girls that wear the short skirts and they tap dance to mountain music. I mean, they always won. It was just like, there's no question. So I didn't enter myself, but he entered me. And then I ended up winning it, which meant that I got a contract at Dollywood and I got to perform a few times with Dolly and I got to record in Nashville. So that kind of happened pretty soon after I graduated from high school. And that's eventually how I met John Mays at Word Records, which is now Curb.
Wow, you jumped right into it. Dang.
Well, yeah, it was. It must have been God's providence, but because I didn't really know. I didn't have like a master plan. I knew that music was what I wanted to do, writing and music.
Well, I think you picked the right path because you're incredibly talented. I'd known of your music for a long time, but then that tape that Joe found really got me interested in it. Because such a we'll touch on that later.
Yeah,
such a random thing. I'm like, okay, I need to check out her music, and I love it. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I listened to it on Spotify. I'd say my favorite song of yours probably has to be "Stars." They say it's love.
Oh yeah.
I love that one. That's my favorite one.
Thank you. Oh man, that makes me happy. Thank you.
Beautiful music. Are there any artists, one artist or multiple artists who have inspired you?
Oh, absolutely. I think early on, I was definitely inspired by classical music. I think I loved I especially love Beethoven. I just thought his music was really, which is strange. You know, I was growing up in East Tennessee in a log cabin, but there was something about Beethoven that was just so melancholy. But then my sister loved the Beatles. So I listened to a lot of Beethoven and Beatles, and that progressed into I also really love Billy Joel, and I just think
Oh
he's
yeah,
such
I
a
love
brilliant
Billy
writer.
Joel music.
Piano Man. Yeah, I spent
Oh,
about a week trying to learn that on piano, and I gave up.
I mean, you like download essentials of Billy Joel, and you're just like, what? I mean, just every song is such just a brilliantly crafted song, and he wrote all of those by himself. I mean, he's not co-writing those. And so I think, and then I think Billy Joel took me to Sting. You know, if like we're
Oh
building
wow,
House
yeah,
of
yeah.
Cards, you know, I went from Billy Joel to Sting and the Police, you know, which I just freaking love. Um, and
The
you know,
Police is good. I love the Police.
Heard
so
of Sting. I
great.
don't think. Give me a song.
Have you heard
From that
Have
song.
you heard the Roxanne?
Oh
You
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's the Police, right? I
yeah.
think.
But Sting. I know I've heard the name Sting, and I can't.
Yeah, I've heard Sting too. I can't picture
So
What?
Sting is the lead singer of the Police. And,
Okay.
and
That's
so when
right.
the Police broke
That's
up
right.
because they couldn't get along, Sting did a lot of solo projects. And so, so Fragile, you know, that I think Fragile is a solo Sting song. Or it may be Police, but anyway, The Shape of My Heart,
Okay.
When
Yeah.
We Walked in Fields of Gold. Oh my gosh. Fragile is probably my favorite song of his. And I think, I think that the band was obviously brilliant together, but he was the writer and he was the voice. And, you know, Stuart Copeland, who played drums for the Police, in an interview said, yeah, you know, I mean, we were all fighting all the time, but we knew that what he was doing was something, you know, so much higher than, you know, what we were writing. I mean, he's just a once in a generation talent. And so yeah, so I love Sting. And then I think from there I love David Wilcox, you know, I'm a big fan of his. He's a great singer songwriter. If you've ever heard of How Did You Find Me Here? That was like one of his, I think his second record. And he's kind of like, he was the Ray LaMontagne of his day. Because if I think about stacking that up, you know, I love Ray LaMontagne and Gregory Alan Isakov. I've tried to move with music because as easy, and I love old music, obviously. I love Sam Cooke. I love Marvin Gaye. I love Bill Withers. Like, Bill Withers, like, freaking blows my mind. He's such a brilliant and natural songwriter. But, you know, it's so good to just keep growing with music so that you don't just stay stuck in the past. So yeah, so I guess I just stack up all the people that really inspire me.
Well, I agree. Definitely. Move with the times and grow with music. But to an extent, I feel like a lot of the stuff coming out nowadays just doesn't compare to the era of Billy Joel and the other artists that you mentioned. Um, it all feels so different now.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, I think there's some good, I think production is such a massive part of the music we hear now. Um, in that it's very produced, you know. And I mean, I'm not saying that Billy Joel wasn't produced. He was. There was a lot of accompaniment going on, but he could sit at a piano and deliver that song, and you would be a believer without anything else. And yeah.
But like you said, times changed. It's good to have a wide variety of music tastes. Um, which I think is one reason your music turns out so well, is because you're pulling inspiration from so many different people. You're not making, something perfectly in line with one artist. You have a bunch of inspiration that is in your mind as you're making your music, and you end up with an entirely unique, you know, Cindy Morgan original track, which I think is why your music stands out to me and Joe so much.
Thank you. Gosh, that's so kind. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, 1992, first album. I believe that album was called Real Life, and it got nominated for 6 Dove Awards. Fantastic. What a way to start your career, too. Can you tell me how that made you feel? What was the process of getting to that point, and
Yeah.
what was going through your mind?
Well, I think, as we were talking before we pushed record, there's so many reasons why that works. Just having been here, been around for a long time, what I know now that I didn't realize then is that I had a great manager. Mike Atkins was a phenomenal manager, and he knew how to put you on the right tour, and he knew how to put you out on that radio promo tour and just set you up so that that your label had this support system to help you win. And I think what helped us too was when I did Real Life, Mark Hammond was a brilliant young producer who had really not, he was a really amazing drummer and a session drummer, like one of the most brilliant drummers Nashville's ever seen. But he wanted to produce. And so John Mays, who is a really well-known A&R director in Nashville, has signed so many successful acts, including Lauren Daigle, by the way.
Lauren Daigle, yes, I love Lauren.
Yeah, I know her.
Yeah, she's so great. So John has a history of a lot of success. And so anyway, I was his first artist that he signed, which was so cool. And so he partnered me with Mark Hammond. And so it was, what we were doing was new, especially in the CCM market. It was very different. And I think I was an alto in a world of sopranos. And Mark was a brilliant, brilliant producer. And so I think we were coming to the table at a time when it was something different. It was in line with what was going on in mainstream music. And I had a great manager and a really great label. And so I think, and I mean, I'm not going to say that, I mean, I just lived on the road. I worked my tushy off. I did. But, I think when you get the nominations, you're grateful because that's a vote of confidence for your label. That's a vote of confidence. It's something to talk about. It's a sticker you put on your CD. It helps sales, that sort of thing. And so it's a part of business, really. But I mean, I was glad. I was glad for that. And, we won one, which was New Artist of the Year, which is the one you really want to win as a new artist. If you're going to win one of those, then you want to win New Artist. So I was glad we did win one of those 6. But anyway.
Just last year, you won the Hollywood Independent Music Award. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We talked about this before, but so I wrote a novel in 2023, April of 2023. I released a novel. It's a historical novel. I just so happen to have one here to show you.
Oh, there we go.
It's called The Year of Jubilee. I'd love to send you guys one.
Yeah,
it's called The Year of Jubilee, and actually during the month of February. For Black History Month, I'm doing a live reading of this every night at 8 Central on my Facebook page. But anyway, I couldn't imagine. It's a very personal story, and it's inspired by something that happened in my own family's life. But I wrote a soundtrack to this novel, basically inspired by the character arc of all the major characters in the book. And I co-wrote most of the songs with some of my heroes who are also, happen to be dear friends. So Jubilee is kind of the theme song of the record, which I wrote with Tommy Sims. So if you guys do a Wikipedia search on Tommy Sims, you will see what a giant he is. And so he and I wrote that song and performed that song together. So that is the song that won for Roots Americana Song of the Year at the Hollywood Music Awards.
I wrote down his name so I can look him up.
Tommy Sins. Yeah, look for Peace and Love. That's his benchmark record. And it's amazing. My favorite track. Oh gosh, my favorite track's probably 100 and there's one other one. I'm trying to remember the name, but that is a fantastic record, so I highly recommend it.
Oh, where is my hairbrush? Oh, where is my hairbrush? Oh, where? That Larry is such a babe.
At this point, I'm going to pass the mic to Joe. He's got that tape with him, and he has a couple questions for you about a former friend of yours.
If you're watching this podcast, you're most likely a VeggieTales fan. If you don't know who Cindy Morgan is from her music, you might know her from this very obscure tape known as Hip Clips from the Radio Cafe, which featured none other than the Hairbrush song. Y'all know the Hairbrush song. Oh, where is my hairbrush? So Cindy Morgan was the host of this video, and she had a song at the end, All Stand. That was her song that was on this. I think it was at the very end of the tape, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Oh man. I remember traveling, and we recorded that Radio Cafe. I think it was in Illinois, and it was some house, it was like an old house that they turned into the Radio Cafe. It was winter time. And of course, I'd flown there for something, for like a promo tour, and part of what I was doing was this Radio Cafe. And I just remember, like, I'm gonna screw up this hairbrush song. I mean, of course, I'd heard it so many times because I was a huge, as is now, but like at that point, the college student, if you're in the college years. That was like everyone was watching VeggieTales. You were waiting around for the new VeggieTales episode and silly songs with Larry. And so I loved the VeggieTales. I mean, I was so into it, and I didn't have any kids. I wasn't married, but I was like digging me some Larry.
That's actually what my first question was going to be, was what was your first introduction? And I think that answered it perfectly. Phil Vischer, the guy who created VeggieTales, he talked about that a lot in his book. He talked about how most of the people that were watching VeggieTales was not just parents and kids. There were a lot of college students. They were hosting VeggieTales party. They were just there to watch VeggieTales. So I think that answers it perfectly.
And my daughter, and we were talking about my daughter Kova, who I think is how we got connected.
That's right.
She started a VeggieTales club. She went to SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah, Georgia. She's a screenwriter. And so, she started a VeggieTales club at SCAD, which is really important. And, because there wasn't one when she went, but there is now. But I was going to tell you guys about how she found the video.
Okay.
Well, so I think it was during COVID, and Olivia was home from SCAD because all the colleges had closed down. And so I was at night, and she loves to like YouTube surf or whatever. I don't know what bunny hole she'd gone down into, but I was taking a bath, and all of a sudden I hear this like, Mom, did you do a VeggieTales theme song? Did you do a Radio Cafe? I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I did. And she's like, I just saw it. And anyway, it blew her mind that you guys, I mean, I guess you guys put it on there. It just freaked her out. And then she sent it to all her friends. And anyway, I had totally forgotten about it. And so it was just kind of funny that you guys were the ones that started this conversation between my daughter and I about the Radio Cafe.
Well, I was cracking up watching it. I'd never heard anybody describe Larry the way you described him. It's definitely different. I really liked it.
What did I say? He's like
all dark,
he said, our
crunchy.
next artist is an artist I find so dreamy. He's tall, dark, handsome, single, and rather crunchy.
Rather crunchy.
And then it started.
That was it, yeah. Rather crunchy.
Oh, we all got to laugh about that.
I like
It was
how
great.
rather crunchy was like the most important part of it. He's tall, he's dark, he's single, and he's rather crunchy.
Rather crunchy. Oh man.
Fantastic.
Yeah, what's funny is my daughters, when they listen, they're like, "You totally messed up the song. You didn't sing the melody right, Mom." And I was like, "Man, I can't catch a break. Can't catch a break."
But you knew the artist well, at least.
Yeah, you know, I've met Phil a couple times, but I've never talked about the radio cafe with him. But anyway, but but yeah, I'm a big fan of them and Mike. How do you say his last name? Nowacki.
Naraki, yep.
Naraki.
Yep.
So yeah, and they do a lot of work in Nashville, of course, because they're based here now. So I sometimes am in a studio where they're doing some work, so I see them every now and then.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Joe, you were going to ask about the alter ego, right?
Oh yeah, are you aware of Larry's alter ego, his superhero?
Larry Boy, is it Larry Boy?
That's right.
My friend Nicole Mullen wrote that
Yes.
song.
Mhm.
She's a good friend of mine, and her husband David Mullen did a lot of work with Veggie Tales back in the day, and so they wrote that song together, and that's Nicole singing Larry Boy. I don't know how that came to be. You know, it's like, because you know Batman has that tragic backstory, and you're like, what is Larry Boy's tragic backstory?
I guess you could say he has a tragic backstory. It was just
Larry just wasn't
like
feeling very special.
Yeah, he felt like he wasn't cool.
Right.
So he put on spandex and Larry Boy was born.
Was it a toilet plunger on his head?
Yeah,
That's right.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I
Toilet
thought.
laundry.
fantastic.
Yeah, power pickle. I thought that was a good line.
Yeah,
Power
yeah.
pickle. Mm-hmm.
A lot of great lyrics. VeggieTales really excelled in the lyrics, you know, early
Oh,
days
yeah.
specifically. They would have some fantastic one-liners in there.
You know, and I think I didn't realize that, oh, they're on a kitchen counter. I mean, that's the whole thing. You like put your veggies on a kitchen counter.
Mhm.
And so all of the little like what was it on it was the beginning and the end. They always started like on the kitchen counter.
Yep.
Which, and even like the animation, I think I read that, you know, at that point, animating something round was much simpler than like edges. You
Mhm.
guys, you know about that? Yeah. And which is one of the reasons why they chose that worked for them financially to do that kind of animation.
What's funny, Phil said this a few times, Mike might have said it too, but he wrote about it in his book and he talked about it at a couple colleges. He said, when I was creating VeggieTales, I had to think of a character that could be bald, limbless, have no clothes, and host a children's show.
You know what I always thought about? Well, that's really smart. And then a tomato. I mean, it's perfect. It's like the green, the red, the primary colors. I also thought about that they never did the New Testament. Did you notice that?
Yeah, they
never did.
Most often. They didn't want to show Jesus as a vegetable.
Yeah.
They did the Easter story and they showed him in like stained glass windows. In the more recent episodes, they do like, you know, plays like in a theater and they cover like some, you know, like stories from the final few chapters of the Bible, following Jesus.
Okay.
But
But they
didn't
still never
show him
showed
as a
Jesus.
Yeah, they'd never show him.
I wonder, you know, because The Chosen is so, you know, astronomically popular and
Oh,
great.
fantastic. Yeah,
It's
great.
like, you know, what vegetable, like a squash, you know, what could he be? I don't know. I feel like because the whole like seamless robe, I feel like they could cover him in that seamless robe and give him some hair. I mean, like the women have hair.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Madame Blueberry, didn't she have hair?
She did.
She
did. Blonde hair and brown hair.
Esther had the beautiful hair. So anyway, yeah, I don't know, but I just thought that was always interesting. So that was just it. They did not want Jesus to appear as a vegetable.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
I
one of
think
their
it was
unwritten
Phil's.
rules, pretty much.
Yeah, one of was it Phil's mom? It was Phil's mom, right?
Yeah, it was
Um,
Phil's mom that
who
said that.
advised against it. Yeah, which I guess was they were trying to keep sacred here and
I
silly.
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't
and
want to be sacrilegious or
I
anything.
think it could have been handled respectfully had they done
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there would have been people who would have gotten mad, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you know what I was thinking about this morning because I knew we were talking today. We were reading about Bathsheba and King David and devotions this morning. My husband and I do morning devotions, and the rubber ducky.
Yep.
Like I mean, I
His
was
favorite.
like, how did they think about? How did they go? How did they make that connection, the rubber ducky? And I just thought that was so.
I would never have known, like
Bizarre.
years down the road. As a kid, I never picked up on that.
I
Oh, yeah.
know.
I couldn't believe it. It was so seamless too. Like they really got the point across and kept it completely clean.
Yeah. Yeah. You are that man. Remember
Yep, yep,
that?
yep.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah.
I
You
love
are
it.
that
Okay.
man.
What's your all's favorite episode?
King
Oh,
George is mine. That's
uh,
always been my favorite.
if you count movies, Jonah for sure. If you're not counting the movie, then maybe, man, Lyle the Kindly Viking was awful good.
That's a
Um,
great one.
I like a few of the later ones too, like Celery Night Fever and Mac Larry. Um, those came years and years later. I've got a handful of favorites. I don't know if I could narrow it down to one.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. It's hard for me to rank like which ones I actually like the best because there's so many that are really good, but then there's some I'm like, I like this one too. I can't really fit them all in one basket. So yeah, King George and the Ducky is my favorite. I think right behind that would probably be Josh and the Big Wall. That one's one that I always loved
Oh
growing up.
yeah, yeah, I love. My favorite is VeggieTales live on stage. Actually, that might be my
Oh
number.
yeah,
Oh, I haven't seen that. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's like a full live show. What's your
and
favorite?
Finn found it.
I did find it. Yeah.
I feel like the one that made me like gave me the most feels was Madame Blueberry because of the
Oh yeah.
I'm so glad for this day, for the sun in the sky. Remember that song?
I do. You know what? We need an album of Cindy Morgan VeggieTales covers. I would
That's
pay good money
VeggieTales
for that.
covers. Yeah,
I would pay good money for that. That'd be fantastic.
Oh gosh. I just love that. Like I love that it was the French thing and that
Mhm.
and that there was this like sweet beauty to it. And then of course the whole thing about Walmart or Costco or whichever big
Yeah.
box store they were
allow us
referencing.
to introduce ourselves.
Oh, I don't know. There was something about, I mean, obviously Queen Esther is, well, you're going to make me a sandwich. You can make your own sandwich. And I just thought that was so funny. And again, that's another thing where it's like, instead of
That would have been
her
R-rated if they told it
appearing
the way it
naked,
was.
it's like, make me a sandwich.
Go make me a film.
So I think my girls will watch Queen Esther so many times that I kind of got like I can't see Queen Esther again. But I think the woman in the beauty contest, like with the dog song,
Yeah, I love that
Witching
one.
Eye. I mean, that was really one of the funniest. All the lost puppies. Yeah.
Well, Joe,
I think I might have to get out some Veggie Tales tonight and watch it, guys.
No, you should. You totally should.
Oh,
Don't watch them on YouTube because the official channel will mutilate them.
they mess with the audio so bad it's almost unlistenable.
Yeah, you want to watch the original ones. You don't want to. But a lot of fans have told me I watched the whole show on the YouTube channel, and I'm like, no, you missed.
No, you
much.
didn't. Oh man, I have all of them, and I mean, I have the entire collection. I think. Well, I mean, not all of them because I think you guys have mentioned some that I don't have, but I think I have like everything. I mean, I don't know. Like I've got to have like 30 DVDs, So I've got them. I got them for posterity. Now I just need to buy a DVD player,
Yeah,
right?
I know, it's unheard of
Oh.
having one now. It's crazy. Well, I think you've basically answered most of the questions I had because I had one that was, did you keep up with VeggieTales after Hip Clips? And You definitely answered that question too.
Yeah, we kind of wanted to
Um,
gauge how much of a fan you are, and it seems like you're right there with us.
Oh yeah,
I
You're right
mean,
alongside
I'm
of
not
us.
saying that I have the deep knowledge that you guys have, but it was a good, I mean, it was a good 20-year run of me watching VeggieTales. So, because I watched it for me, and then I had kids, and then I watched it with them, forever and ever. And so they're deep in my soul, like Andy Griffith, because that's the thing. I
And
feel like it's like VeggieTales and Andy Griffith are kind of right here. Do you guys like the Andy Griffith show?
I
Oh
do.
yeah, I watch it
Aunt
about
Bee's
every other
pickles.
night or so.
So good. It's so
Yeah,
good.
I love it.
It's one
Well,
of those shows you sit there and watch, like, and it doesn't even matter what episode's on. You'll just sit there and watch it because it's on, and it's not bad or anything. It's a good show.
yeah, I like it a lot. I need to watch more of it. The one I remember was the one with the pickles, Aunt Bee's pickles, which I guess is
Oh yeah,
fitting,
it was Larry the Cucumber.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
But
Yeah,
on point. That's on point with the interview. That was good, Finn.
yeah, thank you,
that's
thank you.
right.
Always thinking
Um,
ahead. I think we've probably, thoroughly touched on the VeggieTales stuff. I want to get back to you real fast before we wrap up the show.
Okay.
Because I became a fan of your work primarily through that Hip Clips video, and I'm glad we get to hear a little bit more about that. I'll show that in the podcast so people know what we're talking about.
Awesome.
oh yeah.
But this might be a tough question, and I think Joe helped me come up with this one. As a musical artist, I have never had the chance to ask, an artist this question. If you had to pick, it can be your music, it can be Billy Joel, anything you want. Number one song ever. You can only listen to this one song forever. What would it be? That's a tough one, I know.
Oh man, it's a hard question. Like if I was on a deserted island.
Yeah, basically, yeah, yeah. You get one song on loop. Every other song is gone.
I think only because I think you're going to be you might be surprised or disappointed by my answer, but I think to stave off depression, I think it would be Mr. Blue Sky by ELO.
Oh
That's
yes,
a good one.
I love that one. Now I'll
I'm
tell you
telling
what.
you, from the Gardens of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I love those movies.
Now I've got a memory attached to that though. I worked at Chick-fil-A for about a year, and
Oh,
yeah, it was a job, and I love the people, and I love I liked a lot of aspects of it, but it was busy. They kept you busy.
oh gosh.
I want to say the first 2 weeks of working there, every time I went in, they were playing Mr. Blue Sky. It was like Groundhog's Day with Bill Murray, if you know that movie.
Yeah.
Every single time I went in, it was, morning. Today's forecast calls for blue skies. Bum, bum. Like, oh no.
Oh no, it ruined it for you.
It did, but I
Oh, I
still love
hate
it. I
that.
still love it.
And you got to be careful about that because you can ruin a song for yourself. But whenever I'm feeling kind of like, I feel in that kind of the gray blues. I can't get going. I have to put that song on, and it has some sort of magic power over me. I don't know what it is, but honestly, their Essentials playlist is phenomenal. They have some great songs. So ELO, Mr. Blue Sky. It doesn't sound very deep, and I should have probably chosen a hymn.
No, I agree though. I agree. I can't imagine an unhappy person listening to Mr. Blue Sky. So I think you get
You can't not kind of dance to it. So, but I think like Fragile by Sting is probably. Do you guys know this song?
I don't
I
think
don't think I
do, but
know
I'm
that
gonna
one.
listen
No,
to it right after
I
this.
have to hear it. Yeah.
I got the opportunity to years ago to do this thing called Troubadours of Springtime in France. So, and it's held at Sting's Castle in France. And so the police come, like a bunch of different writers and artists and a bunch of people. The police were all there except for Sting. Sting did not show up, but his son Joe was there. Anyway, and we all wrote songs with each other, and then we recorded them. We listened to them at night, and it was a writer's retreat. It was very cool. And anyway, Dominique, who played guitar with Sting all those years, he wrote that guitar line. Da 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 da. It's so beautiful. And so anyway, so that's if I'm feeling melancholy, fragile, yeah.
So I'm gonna write that one down.
You
So
gotta listen to it. And don't do like a new version, or you got to go back to the original version, the OG, because they will fool you with some new version. But
Yeah. That's any
well,
song, really. You know, there's so many covers and stuff. It's hard to find what the original is a lot of the time.
yeah, I know, but
I wrote that down.
it's so beautiful. So yeah.
But I can just hear it now. I pop my headphones in, I pop that song on, and I'm like, oh, I know this song. Why did I tell her I didn't know it? I just know I'm just gonna know it somehow, some way.
Yeah, you're gonna know it. I'm sure you will.
Oh yeah.
Well, one more question for you. Thank you, first off, for joining this podcast and talking with us all about your music and Veggie Tales, and I really appreciate it. Anytime somebody makes time for a small little podcast like this, it really is a favor, and I appreciate you.
Oh man,
The last question I want to wrap up on: what advice would you give to someone wanting to start out their music career? Because we know a few people who are going into music. If I had the ear and the talent for it, I would love to, but I don't. I don't have that musical touch. Joe does. Joe's really good at singing.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to put him
Kinda
on the spot and make him sing or anything, but he is really good. Um, what would your advice be for somebody looking to go into your line of work?
Yeah. I mean, the good news is for anyone who's really passionate about being a singer-songwriter, because of social media platforms and streaming platforms, anybody can build a following. And I think, so that's the good news. I think that probably the challenge is that there's so much competition that the market is so saturated. But I would say there's an old saying, measure twice, cut once.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you, I don't want to make this seem like it should be paralyzing, but I think just be true to like the voice inside, that whatever kind of music really makes you feel alive and that makes you feel like you would do this if nobody else were listening. And I think that creating a universe for your music is very doable in this world, and creating. But I think people are looking for, and I hate to use this word because I think it's really overused, but authenticity. People are looking for someone who will kind of put it out there and be real and just kind of show their heart. I mean, if you think about Billie Eilish and Phineas, the two of them write and record everything they do in his little bedroom. I mean, I think it's even on Logic rather than Pro Tools. And so I think they're a great example. Alec Benjamin, another person who is just like this incredible talent. He just was committed to this. He knew what his thing was. And so I think just be committed to being true to yourself as an artist and put it out there. And I think we're living in a time when you might be surprised how easy it is to find a following. And I've seen it. I teach at Belmont University in the songwriting department. I teach a couple classes there on songwriting, and I see it every day with students that come in, and they call them their bedroom songs, but it's these beautiful, incredible, vulnerable or honest songs that they're writing in their bedroom, and they put it out there with like little or no production, and it's like blows up. And so I don't know, but the things that really catch on, I think, are the things that are really honest and kind of really just being willing to be vulnerable. And I think that's served me well, and I think it served a lot of people well.
Would you say it's more important to focus on doing what you love than to promote it? Just make what makes you happy? Because for a while, as a small content creator, when I was making stuff, I'd make it thinking, okay, I need to enjoy making it, but I also need to make sure people see it. And I'm at the point now where I don't care who sees it. I make it because it makes me happy. Um, is there a balance you found to promoting versus just enjoying yourself?
Oh gosh, I mean that is the necessary evil of being in the arts. And but the equation that I find that works for me is I partner with someone who is good at that, who is good at promoting, who I can kind of lean on them to do that part so that I can do the part that I'm better at, which is creating. And so I think a good partnership probably has that. As an artist, if you have that person in your world, even if you give them a piece of your pie to go, okay, if you'll kind of run this part of the ship so that I can really do this. I mean, I think that was the power of record labels early on, was the artists simply came in, they recorded their songs, they toured it. They were not responsible for marketing themselves. I mean, there was a manager that did that, a label that did that. And, I often go, man, like, what music would we not have heard in history had those artists, who by and large were probably introverts or not self-promoters, if they had to be the one to promote themselves? It's like one so often does not go with the other. So I lean on a partnership where whether it's like you hire someone to help you with your social media or your marketing campaign or publicity. And that can be expensive, but, honestly, sometimes going to a college where, you've got college students that are in a marketing program or a PR program or social media program, they need internships. They need experience in doing it in a real world situation to get credit hours, to get experience. There are ways to kind of find those partnerships that don't cost a fortune. But that for me has been very important.
Fantastic. Good to know. I think a lot of people listening right now are taking notes because, yeah, finding the balance between, promoting your work and enjoying it definitely can be tricky. And when you look back at the great, Billy Joel or Elvis Presley or whoever was really big back in the day, and continues to be beloved, they typically weren't responsible for promoting themselves. They had people helping them. Um, so yeah, I think that is definitely advice to heed. Really, in anything you're doing, you got somebody who I guess you could, excuse me, I guess you could say
Your guy in the chair.
Yeah, they specialize in the creativity, and then you got somebody who specializes in the marketing and the financial aspect. And I think when you put that together, you can't be stopped.
I agree.
Thank you so much for joining us. What a great interview, and for letting us pick your brain and get information. I've had a great time. Joe, did you have any more questions for Miss Morgan?
Well, I guess we could wrap it up with one more VeggieTales question. This is one I forgot to go over. Is there a VeggieTales character you find more handsome than Larry?
That's a tough one.
Oh,
You got Mr. Lunch, you got Archibald, you got
You
Bob.
have Mr. Jimmy.
who played? You know who I thought was the best looking was Gabriel.
Gabriel.
Do you remember Gabriel, the angel Gabriel?
Paul Grape?
Was it? Please tell me it wasn't Paul Grape. I thought it was like some big, handsome. Wasn't it like a Gabriel, the angel Gabriel that came when he came in the March Around the Jericho Wall episode?
Oh, Archibald. Yeah.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I think maybe that Archibald.
7 times.
Yeah, Archie.
He was, if he were a little younger, I mean, I think a younger Archibald may have been, he may have been my jam, but he's a little old for me. But turn the clock back, a couple decades, and I mean, it's hard to resist a British accent. Let's be honest.
But that's terrible British accent.
You need to go watch Lord of the Beans. That's young Archibald at his finest.
Oh, young Archibald. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
all right,
check
I
that one
watch
out.
it.
I was hoping Joe would ask that. I knew he had it on the list, and I saw he'd brushed past it. I'm like, no, I need to know. I need to know. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Everybody.
Oh yeah, I had a great time.
Hey, you guys are great. I love y'all's show, and just I love where you're coming from. So thank you so much for what you're doing, and it was a pleasure to talk to you both.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. Everybody listening, go check out her music. Go check out the Hip Clips video. You won't have to check that out. I'll have that in the video.
Oh yeah. Yeah, check out her book. Check out her book.
Check out her book, 100%.
The Year of
I'll be
Jubilee.
checking it out soon. The Year of Jubilee.
And the record is The Sounds of Jubilee. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.